8 big questions for a bigger conversation. Sponsored by MTN. MTN. Everywhere you go.
We do have Aaron with us in the studios. He will tell us who he is, what he does. Good morning, Aaron. Welcome to Guy in the Morning.
Good morning, Jesse.
Fantastic to have you.
Good morning, Juliana.
Waking you up and having you on the radio today. First of all, you look a very, very, very young man. For somebody who will go
when I saw him walking
on social media.
I know.
Yeah.
I know
Totally
when
different.
Juliana saw you and heard that you're going to talk about parenting, you remember the first question?
Yes.
Is how many kids?
Do you have kids? That
Yeah.
was the first
Hey,
question.
do you have
Do you
kids?
even have
How
kids?
many? How old are they?
Yeah.
Because you look a fine young man. Aaron,
you.
just tell us who you are and where you're coming from.
Aaron Utera is my name. I work with X Improvements.
X Improvements.
Yes.
Mm.
Which is a company that does trainings for corporate managements, but this is also a company which organizes platforms to improve relationships, to improve when you see a gap in the education sector for the children, for the kids or for the young adults who are graduating from high school to university.
Teenagers into young adults.
Yes,
Yeah.
into young adults. So we do come up with programs or master classes which can, bridge the gap of the knowledge which they're lacking. I'm also a husband to my beautiful wife, Bonita. Shout out to her wherever she is.
She should be
shout outs
listening
to
in.
Bonita.
Yeah.
Also, you are the person who took our pictures.
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
he
sometime
did
back,
take our picture sometime back.
Yeah.
Aaron, you mentioned that X, you call it X
Improvements.
that you are in the space of relationships. We've just been dealing with this big, big question. Okay? We have so many of our folks, so many of our friends, they are looking for something. They have a devoid in their hearts. They want to find that special relationship which is fulfilling. That relationship where you are proud and happy and like, I found the one. But it's just gotten so complicated, so difficult. Actually, you hear from so many people saying, the streets are dangerous, delicate. Okay? And it has become very difficult. It is easy to find somebody to sleep with. Very difficult to find somebody to give your heart. How would you speak into such a space?
But you say I would want to first start by asking the question, would you yourself say that you're the best person for someone to find before you go into finding some other person to come and fill the void in you? You yourself, would you say that someone else would say when they find you the same thing that you would say in the person that you're looking for?
Basically, can
get what I'm
you
saying?
date yourself? Can you marry yourself?
Exactly.
Mm.
If you had, let's say, a daughter or a son who's gotten to the age of getting married, would you give them to the person who you are? And if you can answer that question, then that's where it starts from. Because I find that so many people go into relationships to find even what they don't have, themselves, and that becomes a dilemma because you go in, you're broken. You are not the right person, you yourself, and so you go in and raise expectations on someone else to become a perfect fit for you. So that's number one. Number two, you can never find the perfect piece for yourself. So we just have to come to a point where we realize that we are all work in progress. I have to keep on learning, and the person that I'm choosing or the person I'm deciding to go with should also be at least one of the priorities, should be willing to learn.
But listen, I have listened to a song by Bruce Melody which says, you complete me. Means I am halfway and then somebody comes into my life to complete the pieces. Is that a wrong expectation?
But also it doesn't mean that if someone completes you, it doesn't mean that you will not have hiccups along the way.
Exactly.
It's just natural.
Exactly.
It's just human error. It's
You
just,
know, because Aaron just said that I have to first, mirror myself and say, would I
Which
marry
is
myself?
true.
Would I date myself? But then I'm incomplete. I'm just seeking out a piece that completes me.
what he's trying to say is check yourself. Are you, before you blame the other person that they don't complete you, are you the best version of yourself?
Thank you, Juliana. And you referenced using Bruce Melody's song.
You complete me.
You complete me. Songs are produced for a certain reason and certain purpose. If you reached out to him, you probably understand why he sang the song that he sang. But you complete me is a wrong, very wrong, perception. When people go in a relationship, when they are not complete themselves, they end up, even
Breaking the other person.
breaking the other person,
Yeah.
because there is a part of you which you haven't dealt with, and so when you go in and expect it from someone else, it's it becomes very chaotic, within that relationship.
So the journey is here. Instead of saying I'm looking for somebody, it is looking for
Find
fixing yourself.
Find yourself before you find someone else.
That's the number one step.
Fix yourself. So this closes the conversation on why it's become delicate and dangerous to be on the streets.
I think that's where to start from, and then we would also look into the expectations that people have in a relationship. When you come in and expect that everything else, is going to go smooth because I found someone, that's a wrong perception as well. And I think that's what is happening, around town. Everyone comes into a relationship and thinks, I've reached.
Expectations.
I've reached. So if I used to do ABC to improve myself, I've gotten there. If I used to work on my body to look good, then I'm there. If so when you come in after you've worked on yourself, or at least after you've understood that you need to work on yourself, for you to have like a better relationship with someone, then the next step should be growing, and zeroing down your ego, and be ready to learn, and know that you're not better, than your spouse. Men in a relationship, in the relationship, you, as a boyfriend or as a husband, you're not better. You're not superior in any way. And same applies to, to the lady, to the girls, in the relationship. You're not, any better. But you're in there because you have faults and that person has faults, and you guys have come together and you're ready. Or it's like you're saying that I'm willing to learn and then move this on to a better, version of ourselves.
Who can help me to bust the myth around, there are people we see, and I don't know if it's just deception. You find this elegant, well-read, well-positioned executives. Sometimes they're on the ExCo,
Yes.
senior management of organizations. Very beautiful, so put together. When you hear them speak, they are very inspiring. They have all the great qualities they can be. They sound like the greatest mothers of all time. But then, when you find out, are you married? They say, I have failed to find the one. But you see, everything around them, they have been working on themselves. Then what is the problem?
See, Jesse, you bring out a very good example of someone who has made it in career. If you go into details of how that person, got there, they worked so hard. They worked so hard. They studied. They did everything that they could do for
To make
them
themselves
to be where they
better.
are, right? But how many people are working on themselves, which is the
Thank
point we
you.
discussed, on relationships, and putting
How
that
hard
same
are they
energy,
working?
that same time to work on themselves, which you will live, even I think directors also, later when we come to our, topic today about parenthood,
Yes.
it's the same thing. There are some very, very important aspects of life that, because society does not put a certain qualification to it, we don't mind. We think things will come out automatically. Relationships are not going to happen, or you're not going to, if you do a study of anybody who has a healthy relationship, they will not tell you that it just came automatically.
They put in work.
They put in work. So that person that you're seeing behind this, the scene, or the person that you're seeing on the stage, doing what they're doing perfectly, we don't know how much they're putting in, into their relationships.
But when you say, every time people say they put in the work, what is this work? Some people interpret it as spending on someone. That is work, making them be happy. That is the work. What is the work?
Work is it's a process. Like the way he says, I don't think work necessarily has to be defined as money. I think work has to be defined on character, behavior, compromise, so many other things that come with life, basically, not money necessarily. Learning, listening, are you doing all those things? That's part of the work.
But
I
listen,
think so.
I
Correct me if I'm wrong.
have found men who are crying, saying, I have done everything I think in my
I
capacity
think the word
to
everything
make
is
this thing
misused in
work.
most cases.
Yes. Everything.
And somebody says, I've done everything in my capacity to make this thing work. I gave up smoking. I gave up boozing. I gave up chasing women to settle with this woman, but relationships are just impossible.
Just let
Yes,
me
Aaron.
step into that.
Also, there's you giving up for the other person, not giving up for yourself, for the good of yourself. That's when it goes back to what he says, work on yourself. You won't stop smoking because you want to impress her. You will stop smoking because it's good for you, and you've checked yourself and realized
Yes.
that, okay,
Yes.
this is not good for me,
Yes.
and it has a bad impact
The
on
end
my
justifies
relationship.
the means. I stopped smoking. I stopped drinking.
So usually, thank you, Juliana, for that you brought in. It's the reason behind what why you're doing what you're doing. It shouldn't be for the other person. Remember, you're working on yourself to be complete. If you're do it because it's the right thing for yourself, not because it's the right thing for the other person. So that's one. But I wanted to come into in this aspect. As a human, I am 3 in 1. I have the body, I have the soul, I have the spirit. When you talk about working on yourself, we're talking about holistic working on yourself. Now, so many times, I think relationships, which later probably lead into marriage and later, lead into, sexual intercourse, sex is spiritual. Like when you get into the sexual act, you are off. Literally, it looks like you're off, from, the time, in which you are at that time, right? So if you're talking about working on yourself, this has to be holistic. You have to work yourself, the body, the physical part, which you can see. Now, unfortunately, most people, when they talk about working on themselves, we're talking about working on what we can see.
The physical
I'll go
bit.
to the gym and then I'll make those abs. Then I'll be able to impress, someone. But you see, to what level will your abs or will your biceps or will your nice body contribute, to the relationship? You are broken. There is a certain broken part of you from your childhood, trauma, which you haven't worked with. So you're going to go in there, you look so nice, you have money, like you're talking about.
Career is good.
Career is good and
You're
and all that.
flourishing.
Yeah, and then you get in there.
And you have demons.
Yeah, and you have
You are
know,
fighting
demons.
the demons. You
You're
have
fighting
failed
the
to actually-
demons. So we have what we call generational curses. Maybe you haven't even looked into your lineage and seen the patterns that have come in from, let's say, your great parents up to where you are, to realize that there are certain things that come on, following you that you need to work on. So when you talk about working on yourself, in a nutshell, it's about holistic working on yourself. You as a person understanding yourself and improve yourself in all the 3 different most important aspects of your life.
So you want to say that I could go to the gym, look the best that I can.
Yes.
But you're still broken in the inside.
The ancestors are saying we'll refuse.
Just we have 10 minutes. Can we get into the parenting bit?
and maybe we can say
Relationships topics never end.
yeah. And maybe you can say that you're coming in, but you can go to the gym and you're very strong, but you have fear in you.
Yeah.
So how does fear and your nice energetic body add up? You get what I'm saying? So it's more than what I can see. Yeah.
Anyway, Aaron is here. We said we'll talk about parenting today, and we wanted to focus on the number 1 responsibility in parenting. Okay. Aaron, this was your idea.
Yes.
And I know you're a parent and you love being with kids.
Yes.
And it's a space and you're enjoying the experience together with your beautiful wife, Bonita.
Yes.
What is that you think is the number 1 responsibility beyond providing Cedillac?
I think
I remember the last time I had dog Cedillac.
interesting. So Jesse, I really really believe, and I'll give you different probably points to to take this home, that the number one role of a parent, as to myself as a parent, is to equip my child to be independent. Equipping my child to be independent in life. I feel like it's and I'll give you examples, but that's the most important responsibility of a parent.
When you say that, I immediately have this picture of parents I've seen throwing their babies in a swimming pool, that because babies do not drown. Is that part of it?
That can be part of it, because they are throwing, because they've learned there is something in the child that can help them survive when they're in a swimming pool. So they let them go into the swimming pool because they know they can do that. And if you dig deep into that person.
Okay, please advise people not to do this. My imagination is my imagination of throwing my child in a pool is just taking me places.
Okay, let's don't call it throwing your child in the swimming
that's
pool.
That's extremely painful.
Let's say putting your child in a swimming pool. Does that sound that does sound better?
With guidance.
No, actually, you need to check out some of those videos.
Yes.
Parents
I did
are
put my
throwing
son in a
kids
swimming pool. I remember it was
in
1
water.
year. I did it. But there was guidance.
Yes.
But they did well. However, it is something very scary. Please don't freak me out.
Let's talk about the independence that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Maybe there are stages to it. So you have a child, they are 3 months, 4 months, 1 year. I want to check where the independence comes in, because I thought at 18, that's when we say, go be independent.
Yes. But you see, be independent is not a
It's not
one-time
nurturing
thing.
them.
It's
to
not
be
like
independent.
on their birthday and then, on June 6th, you turn 18. Boom.
Go.
Independence. Go. Go be independent. No.
You're actually killing them. You need to
Yes.
nurture them too.
Yes.
That's
So that's the equipping that I'm saying. So when you talk about a child is going to be independent, what would they need to be independent? Let's say they will. Let's talk about like the daily life. You wake up in the morning. Will that child be able to wake themselves up in the morning without your guidance? So if they can do that, that's independence. At a certain stage, right now I have a 2 and 9 months old baby, but for me to take her to school, for us, me and Bonita to take her to school, we have to wake her up. Our goal will be one day for her to wake herself
Wake up, dress herself up, go take a shower.
I think it starts with, I do not know how you guys have done it. Maybe you can let us know. It starts with learning teaching them how to wake up and pee and use the bathroom in the night.
Yes.
Not to pee on bed.
Yes.
How are you guys handling that? It's by waking up this child, right?
Yes. So we have to we think about what is it that in that particular example, what could lead her into, let's say, wetting the bed. So, and we've my wife has constantly told me this, that don't give her something to drink past 4 p.m. Because then when you give her something to drink, then the system will need to release the water, and most likely it might be when she's in bed.
Then isn't that you're gonna feel guilty that you have starved your child, you've denied them drinks?
No. So we do it earlier. So after her nap, usually, which is around 2, then we give her the drinks. We give her everything that she needs to drink. That time, the milk, the juice. She takes it. Then, and also earlier. In the morning. So we make sure that the rest of the time of the day, we're giving her what to drink, so that by 4 we stop.
What if, when a child is of age, now that she is independent, and that has been your goal, chooses to change the schedule?
You see, it's not a one. Independent is not a one-time thing, and I think I will bring in an aspect to say that child is very independent. Is a very individual person that is going to grow up one day and go and take their own direction. Me as a parent, my role with this child is just for within a very short time of of her life, of his life. So I have to do what I have to do, and then leave the rest, to the child.
What would you call a rebellious child? Versus when you've taught a child to be independent, that means they have a mind of their own. Okay, you want them to make choices that they find they are what they approve. And then at a one time, when you're instructing them to do A and they choose to do C, would you say they are rebellious because they chose independency over what you thought was right?
Now, you see, in parenthood, we're talking about being intentional in how you're parenting. So when I tell the child to do A and she does B, and then I bring out the anger, I am reacting. I'm not responding to the issue. My question should be, what is making my child to not do that?
First pause. Doesn't this make us? We all grew up in a different generation,
Yes.
different era, and what I remember, for as long as I remember, that's no sense of I am finding out why has the child done this was
Yeah.
not there in our era.
I agree.
In our era, it was if mommy has said do A and you don't do A and you do B, you know what will happen.
Yes.
Chiboko. There was a particular kind
Umoja.
of umoja slipper up those ends, and I think for some reason I'm glad I'm of that era because it kind of modeled us to be actually good people.
Yes.
And I still think I want to raise my son in that old school way, which is a
Without
little bit
umoja?
hard. Properly. I actually will buy umoja specifically for that.
For that.
And I'm thinking I'm going to be that mother. However, times have changed.
Yes.
You people, which is actually softening these kids,
Yes.
which is actually not
Yes.
good because it's over softening these kids because
Yes,
we're
I
giving
agree
them
with you.
too much right of like they think they have their rights. It is okay to exercise your right, but it's also okay. What I actually think, as parents, what we are doing, it's good to listen to your child. It's good to listen to your child. You don't have to agree with them, but you can listen listen to them.
Yes.
And that's why most parents will go wrong. Because now the society has that whole thing of, it's the child's right to do what they want. No, I can listen to your right as a child and I will understand, but I don't have to agree with you. Isn't that right?
Yes.
And most parents are doing this by agreeing with what the child, I will go with what you say. We will go with what you have decided. No, I can listen to you. I don't have to necessarily agree with you or to do what you want me to do. I will do what I think is right as a parent. Isn't it, Aaron?
I want to check. Number one responsibility. Aaron says the number one responsibility for us as parents is to teach a child to become independent. And
Let's use the word equip.
Equip with
Yes.
independence.
Equip the child to be independent. And he is an equipped child. Sunday morning, you wake up, Aaron and Bonita, you want to go to church. You want all your children to come to church.
Yes.
So you tell your child, arise, we're going to church. Your son tells you, Dad, I'm not coming to church. I actually went to the mosque on Friday. Independence.
Yes.
How are you responding to
I
your
want
son?
you wake up and tell them, please have these fruits. I don't want fruits.
Yes. So, maybe to first respond a bit to
Juliana.
what she talked about. She said you were raised in a certain way, and you were, beaten to do whatever. So you didn't have to negotiate. And same applies to me. That's how I grew up. And I can say that a certain portion of myself is that, is contributed to, was contributed to by that. But I also want to, because there is a certain part of you that you don't know that probably you've not been able to achieve or acquire in life. You don't know it because you can only know it if it has happened. The rest of it, if it has not happened, then you don't know it. So that's number one. Number two, I want you to evaluate every time your parents, reacted the way they reacted. Were they dealing with you or they were dealing with themselves?
They were dealing with our bad manners.
They were dealing with themselves, because that's the anger. Every time you do anything out of anger, you're being controlled by a certain, power which you don't understand. When I try to recall what I would have loved my parents to do very much, would be to explain to me, maybe to explain to me what I did wrong, and then tell me this is the consequence, and then do it.
Aaron,
Rather
by
than,
the time our parents got Umoja to beat us, they had warned us several times. Please don't play from the bathroom.
yes,
Please don't use that.
yes,
You are not allowed to do that, because there were consequences. There were wrongs
yes,
in there.
yes,
But then we continually would do it. By the time they would get that Umoja to have you, they have warned you several times.
yes.
Isn't that what you're trying to talk about?
They
No.
communicate to you.
Yes.
Yeah, but what I'm talking about is in the act of disciplining, it shouldn't be you angry and reacting. to
So
that.
basically, it's okay to just beat somebody up as you smile and laugh.
Not smile and laugh, but explaining the point. Explaining the point, So we said you don't do this, and you did it. And the reason why we say don't do this is because of A, B, C, D. So you did it. I
Aaron,
told you
do you
the first
believe
time.
that the parenting of these days is softening these kids
I agree with
a
you.
lot?
I agree with you.
And that's why we're ending up with very spoiled brats. Sorry
you-
to use that word. I
Yes.
have a child. And I keep telling my son, he's very young, he's just very little, 2.5.
Yes.
But I keep initiating this, which my sister, I think, is doing that parenting of spoiling a child. I find it very,
For
very
buying them
wrong.
ice cream.
Yes, don't cry. Hey, I want that. No, you don't. You will not get it, because I don't want you to get it, because it is not right for you. And that's my order of the day. But then my sister has a habit of saying, no, just give the child. It is okay.
Yes.
Really? Isn't that spoiling a child? Is that helping a child?
No, I agree with you that the generation or the parenting of nowadays is really, really not. Again, we go back to the same thing. I think parents love their children. We love our children so much that we fail to differentiate on when and how are we equipping, them to be independent, and differentiating that from the love that we have for them. Life out here is not lovey-dovey's. It rains, it shines, there is thunderstorm, there is all that. When you go out here, life is going to treat you the way life is, and it's for a good reason, because it is teaching you something. And you see what parents are doing nowadays is because they love their children so much, and they grew up in lack. So when they get their children, they feel like it's now the opportunity that they have to just give them,
what
all
they
that,
didn't get.
But you see what they didn't get, and you see that's the approach, and that's the reaction I was telling you about. Because I have money, and my child needs this, I do that. I just give them whatever I need to give them. Because my child is crying, and maybe that makes me feel bad. Then I react and maybe just carry him or her and do whatever I need to do. But you see, the response that I'm talking about is knowing, why am I doing what I'm doing, what I should be doing.
Aaron, we can have many questions, and we've run out of time. Really, we
Yes.
have just 1 minute. I just want to pose this question. In such circumstances, okay, where a child is asking, sometimes they would not ask. If you took your child to school, where kids have everything provided by their parents,
Tablets.
they
Da, da,
have
da.
tablets, they have PS5, they have ABCDE, they have trips to go to. Would you tell your child, in as much as they have all of that, you're not getting none, and you won't go for that trip? You're going to be grounded, you're going to stay home. Here we are broke.
What they used to tell us is, know where you come from. You remember where you come from?
Yes.
You can't afford these things.
You're not those rich kids.
Hey, you're not those rich kids. Aye.
Yes. That's a very very hard place to be in as a child, but also as a parent. I have a friend of mine, Mark, usually tells me that when he was in school, I mean, he got a scholarship to go to one of these top schools, international schools around here. And then his mom sat him down and told him, look, I'm not going to send you to that place, to that school, where you're just going to be wishing that you were like those
Kids.
Those kids.
That's
wishing
bad.
you had all that.
That's denying
And
him.
talked to him and told him, I'm taking you to a school, this kind of school. They have, so they do good, they have good education, and these are your circles that you've been with, that is going to help you, in avoiding, such instances that you're talking about. And right now he's very, very appreciative, of that. And that was a very bold decision to take, as a parent. So most of the times, by the time you take your child to a certain school, maybe the level is in that. If it's not around that, you have, and again, you cannot say that you will always provide for the child to be at the level at which, all the others in the environment are at. So I think there is a lot of work which has to be done at home in delayed gratification, in doing things to contentment. Contentment is a very huge aspect of life.
Thank you. That's what our parents grew up telling us.
Yes.
Be contented with what you have.
Yes.
This is for you.
Yes.
Don't admire other people's
Yes.
lunchbox. This is your lunchbox.
Yes.
And that's what mommy has provided.
And for
which is
that
a good
lesson,
thing.
and for that lesson to
It
be
taught
adopted,
us to be contented in life.
Yes, and
Like,
for that
there's nothing
lesson to
that
be
can move you.
adopted, it has to be done at home. It's intentional. You have to find different ways of how you're going to address that. Read about it. Find out, have such discussions, with people, with your fellow parents. Find out what they have done, in their homes, and what is working, and do that.
Aaron, our time is fast spent. We have the news that we're supposed to bring on. It's been a pleasure, and we hope to have you as many, many more days to come ahead to just have a conversation on this huge subject.
From around the world in 3 minutes with Isa, Jean-Baptiste and